Some mysteries are whispered in legends, others are hidden in the darkest corners of the Pokemon world, and a few are right in front of us, waiting to be uncovered. Today, we are diving into 3 of Pokemon's greatest enigmas: the forgotten original dragon of Unova, the sinister secrets of Sinnoh's Old Chateau, and a question that has haunted trainers for decades: is Ditto a failed attempt to clone Mew? Before we begin, hit that subscribe and turn on notifications, because in a world of mysteries, every detail matters, and you do not want to miss a single clue. Our journey begins in Unova, with a shattered legend of the original dragon. Let us uncover the truth. These dragons each rule over their own element. Zekrom controls lightning, Reshiram wields the power of fire, and Kyurem holds dominion over ice. But here's the kicker: Zekrom and Reshiram confuse with Kyurem using their respective dragon stones. Now, this is a phenomenon that doesn't really happen with any other Pokemon. So how is this even possible? Why were these once united beings split into 3? Let's take a look at the myth that might hold the answers we look for. In the Unova region, there is a legend that has been passed down for generations. A story about 2 heroes who created everything we know. The heroes used the power of a single original dragon to shape the Unova region. But as it happens, these 2 twin brothers, though raised together, sought different paths and different ideals in life. And this is where things start to get interesting. The 2 brothers' separate desires led to a massive feud, and the immense anger they felt towards one another caused the original dragon to split. From this separation, Reshiram and Zekrom were born. The older brother allied with Reshiram, while the younger chose Zekrom. And just like that, the 2 newly born dragons were fighting each other on opposite sides. Now the 2 brothers pitted their dragons against each other in battle, and what followed was pure chaos. The 2 dragons, born from the same power, were evenly matched. They fought and fought, each side desperately trying to believe that their cause was the right one. The conflict became so intense that the very land of Unova was torn apart by the flames of fire and lightning. It was a battle that nearly destroyed the entire region. But here's where it gets even crazier. At one point, the brothers had a moment of clarity, a brief conversation where they realized that neither side was truly right. But like all siblings, the battle eventually continued. The battle raged, and then suddenly it stopped. The brothers and their dragons gone, leaving behind only the chaos of their fight. They were never seen again. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Hold up. You only mentioned Zekrom and Reshiram. But where's Kyurem? What happened to it? Well, here's where things get a little strange. Buckle up, because we've got some wild theory to unpack. According to one legend, Kyurem didn't just appear from the same origins as Reshiram and Zekrom. It fell from the stars. A comet made of ice crashed into the Unova region, landing in the giant chasm. This theory has strong support from in-game evidence. Like star pieces and comet shards are found in the area, and even there are some extraterrestrial Pokemon living there. But that's not all. In Black and White 2, Drayden mentions that when the original dragon split, a 3rd husk was left behind, and this husk eventually became Kyurem. The Pokédex entry for Kyurem hints at this too, saying that Kyurem is waiting for a hero to fill its missing parts with ideals and truth. Sound familiar? Those are the two very things that the two twin brother heroes fought for. Could it be that Curium represents something that was left behind from their battle? Now let's get ready for a really crazy theory. What if the original dragon was as powerful as a creation trio? What if it was one of the original creation trio, and I'm meaning Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina? Now stay with me here. In the ancient Hisui region, there are zones named after the Kami Quartet, which served under a yellow dragon, which could very well be the original one. And here's the kicker. There's a sacred cave in Unova that connects directly to the lakes in Sinnoh, where the Lake Trio are from. That's pretty weird, right? Finally, let's talk about Curium's unused Dragonstone, which is called the Godstone. That's right, the Godstone. Could it be that the original dragon was something even more ancient and powerful than we ever imagined? Something that connects directly to Arceus itself, and right under it with the creation trio, and how they shaped and created the Pokemon world as we know it. So what do we think? I'm leaning toward the idea that the original dragon might be something even more bigger than we realize. Potentially a missing creation quartet? Or just an insanely powerful dragon that shaped the world as we know it. But honestly, we might never know the full truth about this legend. And that's what makes it so fascinating. So what do you think? Is the original dragon just a super powerful entity, or is it something akin to the creation trio? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, let's get on to the next mystery. There is a creepy mansion in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and the new remake's BDSP that has haunted many players with its eerie atmosphere and strange occurrences, and of course, its ghostly inhabitants. But what if there's more than meets the eye? Stick around because we're going to unravel the mystery behind the Old Chateau, its chilling connection to Rotom, and Darkrai, and beyond. The Old Chateau is located deep within Eterna Forest, a place that in itself feels a little bit off. This decaying mansion used to be magnificent, but it is now overrun with dust, cobwebs, and an unsettling stillness. As you enter, you immediately notice the lack of light, and the feeling that you are not entirely alone. Inside, it's dark, silent, and abandoned, but things start to get weird as you explore. The most unsettling part, a TV which, strangely enough, is still working, but the screen is flickering, all white with static. Creepy, right? But that is just the beginning. As you wander deeper, you start to encounter the ghosts of the mansion. There are two ghosts that stand out in particular, a young girl and a butler. Both appear suddenly as you try to interact with them. They disappear, as if they were never there at all. The hairs on the back of your neck are standing up, aren't they? But wait, it gets even stranger. Here's the real twist. Once you have completed the National Pokédex and returned to the Old Chateau, that TV I mentioned earlier, remember it? It becomes interactable, and this time it is not just static. You begin an encounter with none other than Rotom. Yeah, the same Rotom that can inhabit motors and appliances. But why is it in the Old Chateau? Let's dive deep into that mystery. In Pokemon Platinum, we get a new area that wasn't available in Diamond and Pearl. Inside Team Galactic's Eterna city building, there is a room full of Rotom appliances, and it's here that we find two journals, one written by Sharon and the other by a child. Charon's journal tells an interesting story. He writes about his first encounter with Rotom, which came when he found his misplaced toy robot moving around by itself. At that moment when he touched it, something strange happened. Rotom emerged from the robot's motor. Over time, Charon and Rotom quickly formed a bond, despite the Pokemon's electrical powers making it impossible to physically touch. But things took a dark turn when Charon tried to touch Rotom one time. He was knocked out cold by the sheer force of electricity. When he woke up, both Rotom and the toy robot were nowhere to be found. Now let's talk about the second journal entry. This time it was written by a child. It describes Rotom's ability to enter and merge with special motors, just like in Charon's journal entry. But this time, something feels different. What if after leaving Charon, Rotom eventually ended up at the Old Chateau, where it befriended a young girl who now haunts the mansion? So here's the theory. The young girl and Rotom formed a bond, but something tragic happened. Maybe an accident or some other sinister event caused her to forever haunt that mansion. And Rotom, feeling responsible, chose to stay in the mansion, guarding the place out of guilt or sorrow. But that is not the only theory that is floating around. Now, let us take a quick detour back to the Unova region from the first story. There is a place called the Strange House where a similar story unfolds. A young girl was trapped in an eternal nightmare caused by Darkrai. Despite the family's efforts to save her with a lunar wing which has worked in the past for other people, the girl never awoke, and her spirit now haunts the house just like in the Old Chateau. This sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? An abandoned house, a ghostly young girl, and a collection of ghost Pokemon. It is possible that the same force at work in the strange house is also behind the haunting of the Old Chateau. What if something far more sinister than just Rotom is responsible for the tragic events that unfolded in that mansion? So to wrap up this chilling tale, we have a few possibilities. Could Rotom's presence in the Old Chateau be tied to a tragic accident? Or was it just in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or is something far darker at work here? Something that involves more than just one ghost and one haunted mansion? Maybe, just maybe, Rotom is connected to a much deeper and more sinister mystery in the Pokemon world that has ties to Darkrai itself. So what do you think? Is Rotom just a lost soul, or is there something darker at play in the Old Chateau? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, we have one more mystery to uncover before this video ends. Be sure to stick around to the end. So our final mystery for today is one that many people have speculated over the years, because this one is about Mew and Ditto, and a possible secret that could change everything you thought you knew about Pokemon, the world, and creation. So let's jump right into it. First, let's talk about Mew, the original Pokemon. Yep, that's right, Mew is the OG. According to legend, every single Pokemon we come across can trace its lineage all the way back to Mew. It is the point of origin for every single Pokemon in the world, outside of Arceus and the Creation Trio. Maybe the original dragon too. But there's one particular connection that has fans scratching their heads, and it is between Mew and none other than Ditto. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this theory, we have to rewind a bit to the very beginning. Mew, shrouded in mystery, was hiding deep in the jungles, unseen by the outside world, until one day, scientists stumbled upon it. At first, no one knew it even existed. Only the local legends told of a mysterious Pokemon hiding amongst the ruins in the jungle. But then, the unthinkable happened. Mew was found and captured, and its DNA was like nothing anyone had ever seen. The scientists were beyond intrigued. They found that Mew shared its DNA with every Pokemon on the planet. Yes, every Pokemon. It was like the DNA of life itself. It was a groundbreaking discovery that could change everything. But just as they were starting to make progress, Mew escaped. The scientists were beyond intrigued. They found that Mew shared its DNA with every Pokemon on the planet. Yes, every Pokemon. It was like the DNA of life itself. It was a groundbreaking discovery that could change everything. But just as they were starting to make progress, Mew escaped. And with no hope of recapturing it, the scientists had one desperate idea: cloning. They decided to try and clone Mew, and eventually Mewtwo was born. But here's the thing, Mewtwo wasn't a perfect clone of Mew. Sure, it had some similar traits, but it was more humanoid, less cat-like, and more aggressive. The cloning process wasn't flawless, and honestly, we can't blame the scientists, because cloning technology was still in its infancy. In fact, if you look at the Pokemon movie Mewtwo Strikes Back, you'll see the messy process of cloning in action. Mewtwo wasn't just created in one try. It might have taken hundreds, if not thousands, of trial runs. Now let's tie all of this back to Ditto. Could it be that every Ditto we encounter is actually the result of a failed attempt at cloning Mew? I know, this might sound far-fetched, get it? But hear me out. The evidence is there, and it's pretty compelling. The first bit of evidence that ties Mew and Ditto together is that they share a very special ability: transform. Both are the only Pokemon in the entire franchises that can use this very specific move, which allows them to take on the shape and ability of any Pokemon they face. That is pretty specific, right? It's almost as if their DNA is eerily similar. But that is just the beginning. And here's the kicker. Let's talk about their physical characteristics. Both Mew and Ditto are pink, and their shiny forms share the exact same color. Now I know this might seem like a very small detail, but it is just another link between the two. What if Ditto's genetic makeup is just a distorted, failed version of Mew's DNA? So what do you think? Are Mew and Ditto more closely related than just distant relatives? Or is Ditto truly the result of a failed cloning experiment? I mean, in my opinion, the evidence is there, but it's up to you to decide. But before you go, let me know in the comments what you thought of all of the mysteries. Do you believe the original dragon is a Creation Trio member? Do you believe the Old Chateau is a result of Darkrai's manipulations? And do you believe the Ditto connection to Mew is more deeper than we think? Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that bell so you never miss another Pokemon theory or video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.